Well, I'm going to share a story that was triggered by something that happened during the winter retreat. And in the winter silent retreat, we had a few discussion groups, and so something was mentioned that sounds similar to the story that I'm going to share. Different conditions, different people, but the stories come to the same point, really. So this was many decades ago, and it was a Sunday, and my dad, who worked 6 days a week, his idea of showing us a good time was taking us out to ride horses. And so he had horses that he could ride, mostly, but they weren't really kid horses. So they're like, bucking broncs. But anyway, this is what we did on Sundays often, and I think it gave my mom a little bit of a break because she would either stay with my aunt, because the horses were at our cousin's place, or she'd be at home. And so, as usual, my brother and sister and I were horsing around and being ridiculous and probably fighting with each other and, just being goofballs. And here my dad is, he's tired out from working 6 days a week, and he's trying to get a saddle on this horse, and we're being goofballs. So the horse is starting to get really antsy, and then there's another horse that needs to be saddled. And this one day, he absolutely lost it. And he said to us, "Shut up and you might learn something." Now that just stopped all motion, because in our house, shut up was a swear word. And I can just remember the feeling of it. My brother and sister remember it too. It's like, and it was like, this word is not supposed to be said. Now, do we rat on do we tell our mom that our dad said this word? And I could just see my brother and I looking at each other like, we've really done it. We've really misbehaved. And then, he got busy because we did shut up and saddled the horses, and it was quite a pleasant day. But in the car ride home, it was complete silence because we were still thinking about the shut up and you might learn something. And I could just tell we were just thinking, do we tell our mom? Do we not tell our mom? Should we tell her? No, we better not tell her. It'll ruin the rest of the Sunday. So we didn't say a word. Sunday was lovely. Many years later, probably at least 10, we were all in our late teens, early 20s, we finally had the courage to talk about the story. Because by now, right, if someone had heard my dad say that in Safeway, that would have been just like, they would have been calling social services, politically incorrect to the, hilt, And it was just a guy who was worn out trying to get some space, So we talked about this story, and we laughed, and we talked about that story often. But I've come to see that there was some wisdom in that story. There's actually a lot of wisdom. And so if you've ever had the experience of going on retreat when it's supposed to be silent, you get to see all the impulses that rise up to say something, even in a little meeting, And so I got to see that a lot this time, actually every time we have a retreat. And for me personally, I get to see that sometimes I want to say something just to be ridiculous, just to sort of break the tension of what's ever going on, and it's not very useful. And then sometimes I get all involved in idle chatter, which, as we know, is a non-virtue. And then this isn't even referring to the outside bleh, but also the inside chatter, which is going non-stop. Maybe it isn't for you, but it often is in my case. And how all of these opportunities to say something, to correct someone, to show them that they're wrong, that I'm right, that my idea is really the best one, on and on. Just all of these impulses rise up. So I've learned that by not saying anything and trying to honor the silence, I've averted some catastrophes, really. I've averted offending someone. I have averted boring someone. Really, does everyone need to know my process about how I reached a certain decision or state of mind? I don't think so. And it just shows me that there's a lot of wasted that can actually result in non-virtue. Let's see. So the other day, Venerable Sultram actually found a quote in this book that really targets what this is thinking about. It's short, but it's great. This is by Gelek Rinpoche, Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And this is what he has to say about speaking when we shouldn't. Thoughts have to be held back and analyzed. One has to reflect whether one should say something or not. For a crazy person, nothing holds them back. There is no filter system. It directly goes through. So if you want to find out if you're crazy or not, watch whether you're able to filter your thoughts. So the word crazy maybe isn't politically correct anymore either. But if you want to know if your thoughts are, or what you're about to say is going to be beneficial, I think it's really helpful to put the pause button on. And also, this other part, you might learn something. If we're very busy in, preparing to say something, or, have you ever been with someone and maybe the conversation isn't so stimulating and you're off on another wavelength. And then you get caught up because they ask you, what do you think about that? So it really prevents engaging with others when we've got this internal chatter going. It really prevents us from being present. It really is quite, it's not even polite to the person we're with. Speaking of politically correct. And it just gets us into binds. So I have to thank my dad for some wisdom that could be seen as Dharma wisdom. Shut up and you might learn something. When I do it, I do learn something, mostly about myself and how I can do things better with a more beneficial mind.